Welcome everyone to the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Special meeting of council. Roll call, all are present. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Someone to bring a motion to approve the agenda for today. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kenneth. All in favor? The motion carries. I want to take a moment before I turn over the chair to the Deputy Mayor to acknowledge the terrible tragedy at Tumber Ridge, BC yesterday. I think most of us here have children, and some of us are fortunate enough to have grandchildren. So I couldn't imagine the horror of parents and grandparents, what they went through, what they continue to go through. So on behalf of the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc, I want to extend our condolences and our heartfelt understanding of what they're going through. So on behalf of the municipality, we feel for you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I didn't eat any of your jute juice. See them sitting on the corner of your desk. Next up is, my computer's just booting up, so one moment. So tonight is to address the revised 2026 budget document that's in your package. We have some written amendments that have been put in. I did check with the clerk earlier in the week, and certainly if there's other issues that arise during the meeting that you want to discuss, let's flush everything out. So there's a motion from the floor for an amendment. Please put it forward. That being said, we'll go to the written amendments under section 5. 5.1, Councillor Palmer. Did you want to read your motion, or do you want it read by the clerk?
Oh, you can read it.
You want to read it? Thank you.
Okay. My motion tonight is that we include the replacement of interlocking brick sidewalks with new concrete sidewalks in 2026 on Front Street between Head Street and Thomas Street, and Frank Street between Front Street and Center Street, except in areas where concrete sidewalks exist and are in good condition.
Thank you. I should have turned my mic off during that. Do you have a seconder for that? Anybody second? Councillor Peltman, thank you very much. Discussion, questions, comments? Councillor Wilsey, then Councillor Kenneth.
My question is actually, this year in the budget, I thought we put money forward to actually repair some of that interlocking brick. I just want to see how those repairs are going, what section happened, and then in addition to that, just depending on when we're looking at the pipes and everything, how this will affect any pipes or work that has to be done underneath these sidewalks.
Thank you, Councillor Kenneth.
I assumed it.
Oh, did you?
Questions?
I had questions to.
Oh, I thought you were just raising a concern. Did you want the question answered by the director?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
For how the repairs went to the existing brick, and if there, I thought, I'm not sure if all the funds were used from that repair that we did, and if there's any concerns with the pipes that are underneath the sidewalks before we, if we're going to repave them.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Greg. Director Ortiz.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey. Last year in June, we did go to council and get approved for some funds for bricks. We did not get around to it in the fall of last year. Due to the early snow, it's been deferred until the spring. We have about $60,000 to $70,000 remaining, and we'll be getting to that if this motion doesn't pass early in the springtime next year. And that will hopefully allow us to address some of the more the rougher areas in the downtown core. It won't do all of it, but it'll help us get make a good dent in the areas that are particularly bad.
And the second part about the pipes underneath and the water sewer, the age of the pipes, and how this might affect the future project if we have to redo downtown, and just concerns about doing the sidewalk when the pipes aren't being worked on.
Yeah, through the chair. Thanks for the question. It's hard to tell now without looking at the specific detailed design, but there's definitely a risk that what we put into the ground now in terms of new sidewalks would have to be potentially ripped up or torn up through the course of that big dig without knowing exactly what's in the ground and where it is and the detail to design. Because there's a good chance that it would probably be replaced as part of that bigger project.
Good, Councillor Wilsey, or anything else with that one? Fine, Councillor Kennis?
Well, my concerns are actually pretty much the same as Councillor Wilsey's. I have complained about the sidewalks for a long time as well, and I appreciate they're not in great shape, but we do have $70,000 sounds like to improve some of the brickwork. I just would hate for us to spend $400,000 and then have it ripped up in the next couple of years again to redo everything. Because I believe that if everything helped be ripped up right to the storefront when the big project actually happens. So yeah, I don't want to see $400,000 spent. So.
Thank you. Councillor Hippel?
Thank you. Do we have a timeline on that? Because obviously Councillor Hammer is concerned because we do have a lot of people that are walking downtown, and it's inhibiting the process on how they get to places, and they've got walkers and wheelchairs and just, you know, walking themselves. But are we going forward, like when is the timeline for this, when we're going to actually go in and get that work done? So if it's going to be a really long time, I'm not sure what the solution is then.
Through the chair, I think you mean the time frame for the big dig?
Yes.
So we do have a report coming to council in the next few weeks, probably at the date in March, to award for public engagement to really get us to the next step in terms of what we want that downtown core to look like, both in Strathroy and Mount Bridges. So in March, we hopefully can get moving on that. We're looking at engagement with the public and council in 2026, probably going back in 2027 to finalize design. And at the earliest, I would think 2028 would be a reasonable date for shovels in the ground construction.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and that's actually what I was reading, and that's what I thought, but I guess, so for Councillor Hammer, I'm wondering, I mean, she's concerned for the businesses and she's concerned for the people's safety. What do we do in an instance if this doesn't go through, if it doesn't get passed? Is there a way that we can patchwork it and not be expensive, and like, is there something we can do in the meantime? I guess I'm asking, I have no idea.
I have concerns too, and my concerns might actually help answer some of what you've just asked. I'm certainly old enough to remember when they did the stonework downtown and took out the flat curbs and put in, the straight line curbs and lost a lot of parking, and that was an issue of the day. The stone moves around, and some of it has sank, which is indicative, to me anyways, that there's an issue underground. Pouring cement is good for a short period of time, as we're aware, because anybody that has lived in southwestern Ontario, cement goes up and down all the time. Brand new driveways are moving an inch, 2 inches, and we certainly have sidewalks that need that. So cement doesn't guarantee a smooth, flat surface in March or April. We'll find out how that works in every March and April thereafter. I think part of this is why they went to stone in the beginning. I'm concerned with the safety of our citizens going up and down Front Street, absolutely. And I think where there are, dips, that having the stone lifted and relayed, and the director has said that there's money in there to do that type of stuff, is the proper way. I have very large reservations about lifting the stone out, taking the base out, putting new base down, and packing that to pour cement. Because everything I've ever been told in this town is that the utilities underground are old and unstable. we start putting a tamper on top of unstable pipe, I think we're asking for potential troubles. I think for me anyways, I can't support the motion as written. We have a path going forward. It's unfortunate that it kind of fallen off of our plate over the last, our term here. It came in front of us and just never came back to us. But I'm glad to see that the director is now bringing it back to us. I think it could become a very significant project, because if it's underground, what some of the plumbers and people in our community that know what's underground, because they work in that field, have said to me, I've worked here all my life, this will be a tricky go. I'm really hesitant to start touching that a little bit now and potentially making anything worse. So I've had that discussion with Councillor Pammer yesterday, and it was a great discussion. So I thank you for that and hearing what I had to say with it. But that's where I sit with it. So with that, are there any other questions? Councillor Brennan, thank you.
I wonder if the mover would be interested in the idea that the $70,000 that currently is in the possession of the department for repairs to the block maybe be topped up to $100,000, and that the repair of trouble spots downtown be made a priority in the spring of 2026. And if we spend it, say, that $100,000, 70 of which has already been put out there, that might be enough to get us through 2026 and 2027. And if the next council in their infinite wisdom decides to have a build in 2028, then I think, $30,000 additional dollars for safety and sidewalks downtown, with it made a priority for 2 years, would be a reasonable compromise to spending $400,000. That's just a suggestion.
So I understand that to be a motion the way you
Well,
worded it.
there's a motion on the floor, so I'm not making a motion.
Did you try to ask for a friendly amendment?
I'm just saying to the mover, would she be amenable to that? And so that's through the chair to the mover, and then we can decide what the procedural matter would be.
Well, it sounds like we have a friendly amendment over to Councillor Hammer to move reserves from current up to 100,000 to facilitate interim repairs, I guess is the best way to word that.
Yeah, I would accept that friendly amendment. If I could just speak for a moment to the motion. I've had a business downtown since 2011, and since 2011, numerous CEOs and public works people have told us that the sidewalks are gonna be repaired soon, that we have a big dig coming, just hang on. And this has gone on for 15 years. And in our 3 years, we didn't really get any further down the road with it. And so the purpose of this motion was to bring forth the council, remind us that we've made commitments to the community to repair, and the community is more concerned about the sidewalk than the infrastructure. But we've made a commitment that we're going to do something with the downtown, and we haven't moved the needle any further. And I don't think we can wait. I am amenable to the fact that, of course, if we're gonna, spend $20 million in the next 3 years, I don't wanna waste $500,000 either. But what I'm saying is we have to do something. So if we can get the sidewalks to a condition where they're not so, they're still gonna be hazardous, probably in spots, but less hazardous, while we make this, or while we move this along, I'm okay with that. But if this council or the next council bumps this any further down the list again, because there may be other more pressing needs, and I understand that, then I think we really will have to come back to this and look at doing something more fulsome at that time.
So you accept it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Peltman, you're the seconder on it.
Yeah, I supported Councillor Pammer for the exact same reasons as she stated. It did come to us, and we decided that there were other priorities, and we can't keep doing that. So I'm 100% behind her that we can't keep pushing this down the road. And if I'm lucky enough in the next term of council to be here, I'm going to be reminding the rest of the councillors that this can't be continually pushed off.
Thank you. I have one question for the director. we've been speaking about downtown Strathroy. The 70,000 that was originally set aside for the project, was that downtown Mount Bridges and Strathroy, or simply Strathroy? Or will you be looking at Mount Bridges to ensure that there's no immediate needs that need to be addressed there?
Thank you, through the chair to the chair. I think that $70,000 was intentionally originally earmarked for Strathroy because it is in particularly bad shape. Through this process, we will be going and looking at Mount Bridges as well, and either through this project directly or through our sidewalk program, we'll make sure that there are, we review any potentially unsafe areas in Mount Bridges and repair them similarly.
Thank you, I'm satisfied with that. Does anybody, oh, sorry, Councillor Derbyshire.
So just to throw in there, please go to Melbourne. I know we did one little section there, but every one of their sidewalks is this big, goes up and down. Nobody can really walk on it. Like, if we're making this about safety, then that place is treacherous. There's spots that don't even have sidewalks because the grass has grown over it. So, you know, just when we're getting to splitting hairs about safety, you know, honestly, sidewalks all over the place are terrible for the exact reason as you said. So I thought we had a plan in place to fix the problem downtown. A lot of the problem downtown, I think, is the trees have grown too big and are shoving the bricks up. Now, when I suggested let's remove the trees, that was a terrible idea. Can't do that. We want it there. Well, if you go 3 more years, trees keep growing. Bricks are gonna keep getting shoved. Like, and if we were to concrete around these trees, would it not do the same thing to the concrete? Or are we removing the trees if we concrete?
All part of the bigger.
But I think if we're looking at,
address.
yeah, I think if we're looking at a safety issue, then we need to address every community the same way.
Did you want to reply to that as part of the overall plan, Director? The Melbourne concept?
Through the chair, I think Councillor Derbyshire has a good point, and it's something that we will have to look at through the sidewalk program.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor?
Yeah, no, I just want to point out, there is a line item in the budget every year. There is, I think this year it's $140,000 for sidewalks, so I agree with Councillor Derbyshire in Melbourne. Like, it's just where as a council, we allocate the dollars. That's up to us. They will come back, this is where we want to put the money, but we do have $140,000 for sidewalks in the budget.
Great. Does anybody need the motion read back? We've made the amendment to it.
If you hear it.
Councillor Hammer, and then we'll get it read back.
I guess it's a question to the mayor since it's his budget. So if we are increasing the previously allotted 70,000, an extra 30,000, are you suggesting that that money comes from the sidewalk budget, or is it, should it be added to the budget or taken from reserves? Where's that money coming from?
No, and hope you don't mind a correction. It's now councilor's budget, but I'll just make that correction. Just I'd make that one. And that was going to be my question because $30,000 impact on the budget's not that great. I think it'd be less than 0.5%. But I was going to ask Director Dakin, is there a reserve we could move money from? So he's shaking his head.
Through the chair to the mayor, we do have 2.5 million, 2.4 million, excuse me, in the future needs reserve. So 30,000 coming out of there would be probably the best way to use that money.
Any other questions on that subject?
Does that need to be put in? Does that need to be put in the motion, like where the money's coming from?
30,000 from reserves.
The 30,000 come from reserve fund?
Future needs.
Future needs reserve fund?
Do you want that as a motion?
Or
Madam
added to
Clerk?
the motion, yeah?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're making an amendment to your own motion?
Clarification?
Okay. So your amendment then is that the 30,000 additional dollars be garnered from
Reserves.
Reserves.
the, what, is it infrastructure reserve fund?
Future needs.
It's the future needs reserve, Chair.
Future needs reserve fund. Councillor, so that motion is brought by Councillor Pammer. Councillor Peltman, you were the seconder to it, so you agree to that? Thank you. Just one sec, we'll let the clerk catch up.
I think so.
Okay, okay, Councillor Kennis.
Well, I just, point of clarification, this isn't really a budget alteration motion then at this point anymore, right? It's just,
Affects reserves.
So it's affecting reserves, so.
okay, all right. You want to-
Satisfied then?
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay. So can you read the motion and the two amendments back?
Okay, so what I have is what I've gathered as best as I could. So I have that the downtown Strathroy sidewalks budget of $30,000 be added from future needs reserve fund to facilitate repairs. Does that capture?
Did you
Are
say
you- are you-
downtown?
Downtown
Strathroy.
Strathroy.
Be added to or taken from?
She said the future needs reserve fund.
Yeah.
Is what she had mentioned. You're satisfied with that, Councillor Pammer and Councillor Pelkman? Yes? Rest of council, Councillor Kennis?
So it's really the 70,000 that we've got set aside from last year, plus 30,000 coming out of the reserves to add up to 100,000 to repair the sidewalks.
So it's a $30,000 addition
Yeah.
to this budget from reserves.
Yep,
Is what we've done.
Yep.
You're satisfied? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Wills, sorry, I turned my mic off. Councillor Willsey, you're next up with 3 motions.
Sorry. Can I just ask something before we go ahead?
Yeah.
Are we going to address any of the changes that were made to this and brought up to speed, or? Like, obviously, we brought the police annex back into this budget.
Yes.
But just because we're going through kind of people's stuff, I was gonna say it before we did it with this, just in case it does change the motion as to what we're doing, as to how much we're spending.
So before we take the next motions, you're asking that we have an update from the Director of Finance?
Well, there's a yellow note in here about the
Yeah.
police annex that it's back in and kind of what it does and where it goes and what it's coming from. And I just didn't know if that was clear to everyone and what we're doing, or,
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, the police annex was it in the original budget that the mayor presented? No, so it's been added back into the, because it was presented as a separate budget, which was the whole conversation we had last time, okay. So it is in there now, including the build of the new police station. That's the budget you're now considering.
yeah.
So if you have comment upon that, we'll run through Councillor Wilsey's motions and then your motions, and then we can continue on with anything else people want to discuss,
Okay.
including that. Okay?
Yep,
Fair?
yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Wilsey?
I'll start with my first one. The ones I have here, they don't really make changes to the existing budget, but most of them, what they do is they actually just give clarity to council, so we know what we've already spent, what we have left, and where our future is gonna take us. The first one is one that's, I've always had a bit of a struggle with, is just to show, I'll read the motion. It says, the motion is that we create a table showing pre-allocated funds to previously approved projects and their sources, to start to disclose the funding sources for the water and wastewater projects and any previously approved projects from other departments that have not been completed and will not be fully funded from reserves. So I guess I need a seconder before I can speak to that. Unless you want me to-
You raised a motion that I had thought about this afternoon, which is the purpose of this meeting is to deal with the budget as presented and make amendments or deletions, additions to it as we see fit. It would seem to me that your motion is less to do with the budget meeting today and likely notice a motion that would come to like a regular council meeting.
So I can change it to that, but I guess my issue with that is I brought this up close to a month ago when I was told this was the place to put it. And if we don't know how much we're spending, what our debt is, how much money we have left, and we're deciding on spending more money and we don't even know what we have, it's like buying a house and not knowing what mortgage we can afford.
Well-
I look it through and
I-
I'm just, if it comes out, it comes out, I guess, because I just put it here from staff suggestions, so.
So, is there, based with that statement, is there a motion that you would like to put forward to a line item that's in the budget that I call it the mayor's budget. He prepared the budget, it's now in front of council, so it's council's budget. But are you asking for an addition or a deletion in?
It's actually
line?
a change to the budget presentation that would include this information, so it would be all together, is what I was asking for. So it's a part of the budget, it's not dollar value, but it's a part of the budget. Which is
But
why I
I'm
was
not
told to
sure
bring it
that
here.
that's the purpose of this council meeting. Councillor Derbyshire.
My only question would be, with it being now the mayor's budget, a strong mayor budget, the only time for council to do any presentation of what they want at all is now. So even to say, take it to another council meeting, what's gonna come back is it's the mayor's budget. Council doesn't have any input in until this point. So now we're gonna just keep going in this circle, because this is the only point where council has its opportunity to change any function of the budget. So if you take it to a council meeting, I would think someone would say, that's the mayor's budget. He sets it up the way he wants. If council wants a change, they have to vote it in now. Would be my way of thinking.
Okay, the mayor had his hand up, and then Councillor Pam.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna, I'm somewhat in agreement with Councillor Wilsey, but I'm gonna ask Councillor if we could do this. I think it is important information to have. It doesn't, and I just thought of this now, it doesn't affect this budget, but I wonder if you would be agreeable to a friendly amendment for all three of your motions. This is important, because I have committed to in the near future, future budget meeting where we look at all of our information. We've talked about the debt policy, we've talked about the asset management plan, we've talked about, the master roads plan, where we're gonna put everything in a hopper and look at it. This, to me, this would be important information. I just wonder if you'd be a friendly amendment to put in all three of your, that they come forward at the future, I don't have the verbiage, Counselor, the future, budget meeting or like that. I do agree that this is important information, it would be nice to know that. I don't know if it affects this, but I'm just looking for a path forward, and I think that might be.
Are you, well, wrong, are you then proposing a deferral of this motion? Is that what?
No, actually, just a friendly amendment. A friendly amendment to move all three, to have that information at a future budget meetings. I've talked to the CAO, I've talked to Director Dakin about having one as early as April, to sit and talk about all those things. People give us an afternoon of time to look at all of those things, put them in a hopper and have that discussion. Because I do think they're important discussions to have. We should, have them earlier in the budget process. So that's all I'm asking, Councillor, if you'd refer it to a future meeting, because I do think it's important information.
We could do that with the first two. The third one actually does affect the tax rate.
Okay.
So I would be
Yeah.
agreeable to doing the first two at a future meeting, as long as we're gonna.
And I'll commit to having the meeting. I have talked to the CAO.
So that in fact is a deferral. You want to
Yep.
defer the first two. So you're making a motion then to defer the first and second motion to the meeting date when we discuss finance procedures for 2027.
Yes. Yep.
The CAO gave me the terminology there for that, 2027. That's the one that's coming up. So he's made, the mayor makes the motion, somebody to second that motion. Councillor Pammer. There's no discussion on that. All in favor? That passes, thank you. So those two have moved. If you want to discuss the third one, then Councillor, thanks.
Yeah, the third one is just to use updated amortizations on the debt schedule to reflect the asset management plan's useful life of the assets, based on the framework being purchased. And when you look at the debt schedule right now, all the debt is shown as being amortized over 30 years. So there's a fire truck on there that's amortized over 30 years. If we look at the other fire trucks that are on the debt in different spots, they're amortized at 10 years. So that's what the asset management plan, because we're supposed to pay it off before the useful life is done. The useful life of a fire truck is 15 to 20. So the plan has been to pay it off over 10 and then save up for the next few. In practice, I don't know if we do that, but that's what the plan is. When you look at roads, all the ones that we've done for roads and larger asset plans, they're all paid off over 15 years, but here they're done over 30. The fire hall could probably still stay over 30, but I'm not gonna determine on what the actual ones are. But when I did the math on changing the roads to 15 and the fire truck to 10, it was approximately a $430 or $400 and something thousand difference to the budget, depending on what the interest rates are. I didn't know what the interest rates are, so I used the ones that were on the chart. Well, I just want to make sure that if we're doing this, if we're going through and approving a budget with a debt schedule that amortizes a fire truck over 30 years and has a much lower payment, that's a difference on that fire truck of about, I believe it's 30–40% on that payment. And over the debt, it worked out to about a $400,000 difference. So I'd just like to see if we could get the correct debt before we figure out what the tax rate increase is going to be, because that's going to be approximately the same increase as the sidewalk, so it's about 1.5% tax rate increase to put the correct debt. And if we don't do it, it's just going to come out of our reserve payments because we have no choice. We have to spend it anyways, and I just want to be transparent to the public on that.
Thank you. Somebody to second Greg's motion, Councillor Wilsey's motion. Councillor Kennis, thank you very much. Director Dakin, you want to comment upon that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, so the debt schedule shows existing debt, which is locked in. The next section is proposed debt, and those are using rates current. There are no terms at that stage right yet. We've just sort of figured out numbers. So really, until we get the actual, and I'll be honest that the 4.77 was used when we started this process. I think we're closer to about 3 something now, 3 point something with the Infrastructure Ontario. So again, we won't know 100% what those debt payments are going to be until they're locked in with those rates. So I think to be honest, these numbers are sort of earmarks like we've been doing, and that was a direction that you brought forward earlier, that we should start showing some of our future debt. In essence, all of this debt that's listed here likely won't be taken into accord until 2027 anyway. So by then we should have numbers that are more accurate. So these are just placeholders as far as this debt goes, and even with the police annex, which is the third section on that debt schedule, again, those are listed there as placeholders based on what we currently have. But by the time this debt's taken out, these interest rates could be higher, could be lower. Terms will obviously align with life, the useful life of the asset. Roads, by the way, are 50-year asset. And if you're using proper life cycle rehabilitation, which we do, their life cycle is 50 years. So at 30 years, we're still 20 years below life cycle.
I saw your hand up, Councillor Wilsey.
So just to, I ran the numbers on the fire truck with the payment and the principal and just ran it through a quick calculator, and it was a 32-year amortization. So like, whatever we said on the other ones, like all of our other projects, when we look at them, they're all 15 years for roads. I don't know, say if we want to put wrong debt numbers in and know that we're going to be $400,000 low based on numbers that were previously given to council and talked about, I guess we can approve a debt schedule that's $400,000 off. But
that's not quite accurate. So, like, point of order, Councillor.
Point of order.
Point of order, yes.
Inflammatory.
Nobody said that the numbers are wrong. The director said that by the time the debt is taken out, variables will change, and he intends to use the new ratio, because I remember that coming up at the last meeting, for the useful life. But this becomes a placeholder. So there are no wrong statements being made. We don't know, I see your hands up. We don't know what's going to occur until the debt is taken, which is possibly into 2027. So I had Councillor Derbyshire, then Councillor Pelton, then Councillor Brennan.
Are we collecting taxes on these numbers? And if we are, then what are we gonna do with the overages when this gets straightened out? Like, I think that's more where this is about. If we know that we're not taking a truck over 30 years, then don't budget for a truck over 30 years. Because you're taxing the people right now, today, when you go, oh, in 2 years, don't worry, it'll be a hell of a lot cheaper. Well, then why would I collect more money now and then say it's cheaper?
Okay, so you had a question, so let's have an answer to the question. Are we taxing now for these items?
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, the only taxation that we're collecting currently on debt is the numbers on the top that are for the Mount Bridges Sanitary Sewer, West Middlesex Memorial Center, the aerial fire apparatus, the replacement fire truck. Those are the only things that we're collecting tax on.
Is this not proposed?
Everything else is proposed, and again, as I said just earlier, all of this proposed debt would likely be taxed for in 2027.
Then why is it on this budget?
Because you asked for it.
So now you have a question. Go ahead and ask your question. Open. Councillor Derbyshire, you had a question. Fair.
So why is it on this budget then?
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire. So this gives you an idea of what those expenses are coming forward to try and provide. This, to be honest with you, this is the basis of our multi-year budget that we've been trying to put through for almost 3 years. This allows council to sort of see what these numbers are going to look like. This would be included in the multi-year budget, showing you exactly what's anticipated moving forward, and that's what these numbers are here for. So you can anticipate what you're doing.
One more follow-up.
Okay, thank you. So I can anticipate what I'm doing. But if the tax rate's wrong, the years of term are wrong, then what am I doing? I'm guesstimating. We're not even, like, that's not even budgeting. It's like the rate's gonna be different, the length's gonna be different, the payment's gonna be different, the insurance is gonna be different. Then what are you doing?
It's just a placeholder.
It's
just
You
their
keep
information.
talking about placeholders. We're
It's
putting
information.
but you're collecting taxes.
One at a time. Okay, so you've asked another question. Give the director an opportunity to answer. Director Dakin.
So the 4.77 is not a ballpark number. That's a number that we were looked at, took into account, that was available back in July of 2025 as we were calculating the budget. So these numbers are based on sort of at that rate. If we were to take it out right away, that's what this would cost. Again, once we go, you can anticipate what your roof is gonna cost you, but until you go and replace your roof, you're not gonna know. But if you're setting aside some money, at least you have an idea of where that's gonna be. And that's what this is based on the numbers that were available in July when we started building this budget with the mayor. And these were the estimated amounts that we were going to be using as far as proposed debt. Some of these projects aren't complete, so until we get to that completion, we don't know what those numbers are. But again, those were set up using actual numbers, actual estimates, just like a budget would use.
Thank you. No, Councillor Peltman.
Yes, thank you. My first comment is that this list is exactly what you guys requested, which was to
Fire Station 1.
which is to see what our future debt payments could be on the projects that we've already committed to. But I think with the original motion that's on the floor, which is what we're supposed to be discussing, is Councillor Wilsey's using the term amortization, which only shows up on the balance sheet, not on cash transactions, which the budget is based on. And so when we're talking about what the payments are on the debt, the $474,000 is what we are paying on debt. This debt in the second column, as the director is saying, will not show up as a cash transaction until the debt is actually taken out and signed for, and we won't see those payments until 2027. So No, we're not. He just said we're not. The only taxing we're
budget.
We're the only tax, he said we're.
Just let,
Is-
one moment.
474,000.
Councillor Peltman has the floor.
Yeah. So the only debt that we are taxing for in 2026 is the $474,000.
Thank you.
Correct.
Councillor Brennan, you were the next one up with your hand. And now come right up the road.
In my opinion, the finance director is doing exactly what council has requested. And he is engaging in a bit of a, what I would call an oversight manner of showing us a multi-year projection of what our proposed debt will be in future years. If he were not to do that, I think people would complain. Why were we not told that this debt was coming? Why were we not told last year when we did our budget that there would be some bills coming due? Well, we are being told that right now, and as Councillor Peltman says, we're not being taxed on any of that yet because that is proposed debt. That's debt we have not yet taken on. When we take that debt on, it will be part of the 2027 budget, and at that point, we'll know what the interest rates are and what the exact amounts are. I think we're getting a very prudent presentation to give us a heads up that, you know, there is more debt coming, but we don't know exactly what the interest rates are going to be yet. We don't exactly know what the exact amounts are. We'll know that next year. And this is part of multi-year budgeting, and I think it's a prudent thing that he's doing, and it's exactly what we've asked for. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
So, one point of clarification, I talked about amortization, which is the term of a loan and how long you take that payment for. Just for clarity to Councillor Pelkman, the non-cash asset is depreciation, which is a different term, but amortization is how long of a loan is, whether it's your mortgage is.
So,
Anyways,
is there a question, like we should be asking? Okay.
There is. I just wanted to clear up that as well, just because amortization is not depreciation, and amortization is not a non-cash item. Anyways, the municipal debt that we're taxing for, that's on that debt, if you go to page 38 of the budget, it shows that we are taxing for $1,777,057, of which 1.1 million is coming out of tax, and 778,000. Oh, sorry, that was 2025. 656,000 is coming out of non-tax. So we are taxing for this 1.7 million that's shown on this schedule. It's something that we're taxing for, it's something we're collecting for, and we've got assets that are amortized at the wrong date on that schedule.
So,
If you look at page 38 of the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just going to pose that back to the director for his comment, as if it was in the form of a question. Okay. Go ahead, Director, thank you.
Sorry, I was just waiting for the question, my bad. So of the 1.7 million, the 233,000 is coming from DCs, the 134 is coming from DCs, the 189. So 1.1 is proposed to come from taxation.
So, I guess my question on that, thank you for the clarification.
Question, please.
We were told that we were not paying the bottom half of that, that we were not taxing for the bottom bit. We were only taxing for the top 474,000, not the 1.3 million at the bottom, but we are in fact taxing for the full 1.7. So just for clarification, if we are not.
Can you pose it in the form of a question to the director?
Yeah, I just want to understand why the budget shows that we are taxing and pulling out of different funds 1.7 million, when the director indicated that the bottom half of the chart is not being taxed for or coming out of the 2026 budget. I just want to understand the difference between the director's statement and the documents in front of us. So he has stated that there's only 474 that's coming out of tax, but the documents show that there's 1.7 million.
Do you have a comment to that, Director?
Through the chair,
Take your time. I was going to say, take your time. I know you're rushing through documents, so take your time to answer.
Through the chair, Councillor Wilsey. So again, if you look at the schedule on page 87, the numbers that are actually being charged to taxation currently are the debt for the Strathroy aerial, the debt for the Mount Bridges engine, the debt for the sewer, and the debt for the West Middlesex. Everything below that is proposed debt. We haven't taken out any of those loans yet.
Councillor Kennis, you had your hand up over here on this side.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to walk the line between the two sides here a little bit, and I think it's, we're going from a time when we had little debt to I think we're heading in a direction where we're gonna have more debt, and that's just part of large capital projects that you don't have the cash for to do. So it's like buying a house or buying a farm, you need to borrow the money in order to do it. And you're going to pay that over a period of time. I do think it's important that we have numbers projecting into the future, making reasonable estimates on interest rates and amortization times. I agree, trucks should be 10 years and buildings 20 years, or whatever the case might be, whatever the normal is for a municipality to do. And from that, you should be able to calculate what a projected debt payment is for the years moving forward. And so I think that's going to be a bigger number moving forward. I think we'd be naive to say that's not going to be the case. And so I think as a council now, and maybe not so much now, but certainly future councils, especially next year's council, needs to know what that debt number is going to look like in the years moving forward. So hence, again, the importance of that multi-year budget to be able to project out what the debt payment is going to be in the long run. So it's a bit of a complicated situation we're looking at. We're in a situation where the municipality has a strong cash balance the last number of years, and so it's been able to finance the projects that have been done thus far internally and has the need to borrow, but that borrowing is going to have to happen in the future, and so because we're going to eventually run out of cash, and so I think we need to get accurate numbers. So I'm trying to appease both sides here. I think it's a legitimate request that Councillor Wilsey has made, and I think we need, all of us need to do a better job understanding what future debt payments are going to be on, and I'm losing my voice talking too much, because there are capital projects that have been done, and there are other big projects on the books. The police annex, the downtown, it's gotta be done. So debt payments are gonna be up, and it's gonna be a bigger portion of the budget moving forward. Sorry for that long-winded.
That's fine, just one moment, everybody. So, Councillor Wilsey, so I'm looking at your motion. What is it that you want to add or subtract into this budget specifically? Can you help me with that?
I want to use amortizations that actually reflect the assets that we're using. So the debt payments are going to change. And even looking at, whether I look on the budget on page 38, 87, or 18, they all show that we are we're taxing for $1.77 million of debt. But
okay, so you're clear, like you got me clear for the moment, so let me stop there for a moment. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you. Because the way it's motioned, again, sounds more like a policy for the future thing, which is fine. I agree. I think everybody's agreeing that the concept is a great concept.
But it's not, it's for this budget, because the amortizations on the second section of the debt table are all at 30 years.
That's what I want to get
And
to.
I want to get that corrected to the proper amortization so that the payments are correct. Because a payment on, I'll use the pumper truck, I'll use it for an example. If we do it of a 10-year amortization, the payments are $40,000 a year more.
Okay, so that's what I want to get to, okay? So one second, I have a question for the clerk, and then the mayor has a comment.
So just with the discussion we had, I might add another.
Sorry, wrong button again.
And with the discussion we had, I'll ask something different. If we're not actually taxing for that second bit, and the director's other comment was right, and we're only actually paying $400,000, then we either need to show these as future, we can't tax for stuff that we're not paying this year. So if we're not taxing for it, then we have to remove that second section of taxing, or have a policy from council that we're gonna pay for next year's debt. We can't tax for something that we're not gonna be paying this year.
Okay, so here's my question to the clerk. So, coming out of tonight's meeting, we need to have all of our amendments in and done, and we hand this back to the mayor, who says he's not using his veto power. So the budget is finalized as of tonight. So asking for a change to come back to us is mute, because it can't occur. We're not coming back. That was my question to the clerk.
And that was why I asked for this a month ago, and I was told we couldn't discuss it until tonight. So,
Okay, so
like, when it was
So
first
I'm
presented, I asked the
asking,
same
how are
question.
we going to, if, here's the trick, if council wants to make a change, then you have to do it in a format that can be done tonight to this budget. The mayor had his hand up, and then I'll go to Councillor Pelkman and Councillor Kennis.
I just have one question, so the Director of Finance, Director Dakin, is this gonna change the budget at all? If you do anything, is this gonna change, that's what I'm concerned, does it, I understand and agree about, changing it in the future. Does this change the budget, either adversely or in a positive?
So if the council were to take out any of the debt that is proposed for 2026 and actually move forward on those debts, there may be some change based on current interest rate when you take that debt out. That would be the only change. And also, if the principal amount or the amount that we were to take out in debt were to change, then that would also affect. But again, that's looking into a crystal ball, knowing what that future debt's gonna be when we actually take that debt out.
I see your hand, Councillor Derbyshire, but Councillor Pelkman, Councillor Kennis, I think were the next two up.
I was just gonna suggest there's only 7 items in that bottom list. If we take a 15-minute recess, could the finance staff figure out the amortization by year, but not by interest rate, because we don't know what the interest rate's gonna be? Would that be satisfactory? And then we at least have the numbers for tonight?
Am I allowed to answer that, or is that?
Let me, Councillor Kennis has a question before we move to that, so hold your answer for a second.
I guess what I want to say, it just relates to, if we're not going to go out and borrow money this year, then the debt payments are not going to change. If we are going, say in July this year, to borrow $5 million, then we're going to have payments on $5 million from July to December. So I guess that's the question. If we're not planning on going out to borrow externally in 2026, then the payments as they're shown are fine. If we are, then there will be more debt payments on it, so. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Wilsey, you wanted to make a
Yeah,
reply.
and it's this, and there's, I'm confused now over if we're taking this debt out and if we're paying it this year, because we've been told by the director that we're only paying the top portion. But when you look at the budget, we're using the 1.7 million at the bottom, not the 470. So my position is this: if we are taking debt on everything this year, we need proper amortizations and proper estimates so that we can tax for that. If we are not doing that, then we actually have to remove those ones from the tax, because we can't tax for something that we're not doing unless council has a policy that we're gonna tax for debt before, which I think is a good policy, but I don't think council has that. We need to just reflect what we're actually paying this year.
Okay, so Councillor Derbyshire, and then I will be looking for a specific, I'm not sure how this, I'll let you speak in a moment, but Councillor Wilsey, put your mind to the idea that I'm not sure how your motion can be implemented, because you're then pushing a budget forward without knowing the real tax rate, because you're saying it's going to affect tax rates, and I don't know that. So I'm still looking for a definite motion of some sort, if that's what you want to do. Councillor Derbyshire.
The fire station 1 is almost done, right? So we will be financing that this year? Like, Darcy Lane, is that not done this year? McAvoy Road, is that done? Like, they're going to come on this year. If they're not going to come on this year, then we don't tax for them. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're pre-taxing for these projects. So,
Okay, so
they're either
that's
coming online or they're not. Now,
So
is Agnes
pose-
Drive?
Pose that as a question to the director. Are we pre-taxing for jobs that are not complete?
So,
To the director, one moment, to the director.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, so what we are listing is what those potential costs could be. So they're listed there. Until council goes out and takes those loans out, there is no loan.
That's right, but are we, it doesn't show up in the tax rate. Are we taxing for it now, knowing that?
If you look at page 83, 87, we showed that the fire station was gonna be 630. And so that was a placeholder. Again, these are placeholders. So I think the position is that these are what your these are what the debt payments could be if council took out the debt, but we haven't taken out the debt.
Can I ask one question then?
Yeah.
If we tax for it now, where does it go? So you've taxed for it now, we don't have a reserve fund set up that says this is to pay the future of what we've done. So if we take these payments, they just go into the general reserve fund that we then use somewhere else, and this becomes still a $10 million loan that we take out and begin to pay on in
Let the
26.
director answer your question.
So I would recommend, if that's the direction of council, that we set up it's easy enough to set up a debt reserve, that any debt that isn't taken out, that is taxed for, goes into that debt reserve and would be by project, so that when those projects are, those debt payments are already there.
So that's a policy that would flow over to this other meeting we're talking about in April. Councillor Kennis, I saw a hand on this side.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, because this can get complex pretty easily, but well, it is already complex, but you know, like buying a fire truck. If we bought the fire truck 2 years ago and we don't take out the loan until today, theoretically, we should be amortizing whatever loan there is over 8 years, because we already have the truck for 2 years. So then we have really paid interest and principal back to ourselves. So again, there's that internal movement of money, right? And again, it's the advantage of having quite a reserve of cash available to do our internal financing. You know, if we didn't have any cash, we'd just go to the bank right away and borrow, right? That would make life simpler, I suppose, to explain in a meeting like this. But yeah, again, I'll be quiet.
I got to pose a question first. I see the two hands up because we're going around and around. But to implement the motion as it sits right now, if you were to implement that motion, do you have it up in front of you? That we use updated amortizations on the debt schedule to reflect the asset management plan's useful life framework of the assets being purchased. Example, 10 years for vehicles, 15 years for roads. That's the motion that's seconded on the floor. If that motion passes tonight, how do you address it? And is there a fundamental change to the budget?
Through the chair to the chair. So I'll just point out that the pumper truck, if you look at it, is $782,661, and the payment is $78622, which is 10 years. That's a fire truck. So it's already sitting there, that fire truck. The other ones, the useful life, we could change those useful lives, but again, the other variable is the interest rate. So whatever the interest rate is, that we would also have to change that as well. But as Councillor Kennis pointed out, if we are borrowing and we've got 2 years of useful life already out of that vehicle, obviously we need to, the amortization would be over the 8 years, not the 10. So again, it's contingent on when we take out the debt. 10 million on the fire station. Once we get the final numbers in, it may be under that, maybe So we have to, again, those are the other variables that change as well. So I think that the thing is as we take on the debt schedule, they move up to what we're currently servicing. Going back to Councillor Derbishire's comment, if we're taxing for something that we haven't already taken on it, that debt out, then what we would do is put that money into a debt reserve. Again, that comes back to our discussion last council meeting about our debt policy. And Councillor Wilsey pointed out the need to show those monies that we're using out of reserves until we do the debt. So again, that all flows into that debt policy.
Okay, so we put the motion to a vote, the motion passes. Right now, the projected budget increase is, Your Worship,
4.53, and I'd like to make a
Thank
final
you.
statement.
So, right now it's set at 4.53. I want to know, if that motion passes, does the 4.53% increase change?
That's a difficult question from the standpoint that if the interest rate is different than what we say here, it could be down, so it could be less. So the 4.5 could go down to 4.3 if the interest rate is less. If the interest rate is more, it could go up. Again, I don't know what those interest rates are until we take
Yeah,
that
but
down.
those budget line items, we're setting the 4.53 rate. That's coming out of this meeting. We said, if the budget's approved, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's people that know budgets better than I do and what we're coming out of the room with. We are approving tonight a 4.53% increase. That's essentially the question in the room tonight, right? 4.53% tonight, that's ultimately the question, am I right? Okay, if that motion passes, it's still 4.53. I get it that we might not be taking it, we might not be spending it, it might go into a reserve. You're saying we could generate a reserve for it, but the 4.53 remains the constant.
Unchanged.
Unchanged, as opposed to adding $400,000 of taxation for the sidewalk, which would have raised it 1.59, I think it was, the number was in the report, correct? We've got two different things going on. I just want to make sure we fully understand.
Correct.
Thank you. That's the fundamental question before us.
How does that work if the engine 31 is 900,000 and the principal payment is 36 and the interest is 20 and it's amortized over 10 years? Wouldn't that payment be more?
I think the payment's more, and I didn't generate the budget, so I'm a bad one to ask.
So we're changing the payment.
I listened to, but what I'm saying is the 4.53% increase is not changing.
If you're increasing this, how does it not? Unless it's coming out of a reserve. Somebody shoot me.
His Worship, and then Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is scary. I understand what this is. This is a list of bills coming due that we're gonna have to pay, and Director of Finance has made his best estimation as to how we're gonna pay those. I've heard him say the interest may go down. It may go up, but I think he's being prudent and allocating some money when those bills come due. This is just a list of bills that are coming due and the best professional estimation on how they're going to pay them. Now, this time next year, payment may be less, it may be more, but for the purposes of this budget, this is just telling us, here are the bills, here is the best way that they're gonna pay them based on the information. It may go up next year, it may go down, things may change, but for the purposes of the budget today, this is the list of bills, this is the proposed way to pay them, and like anything in life, it may change. But this is the best estimation of they're gonna pay the bills that are coming due.
Councillor Brennan, Councillor Kennis, Councillor Pammer, and then we have to move on somehow.
Through the chair to the director. The budget that we're looking at this evening, the 4.53% proposed increase, we're taxing for loans that we're currently paying. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are we paying for any loans that we haven't taken yet?
Sorry, if you could repeat that question.
Are we paying anything on loans that we have not yet taken?
There is potential to pay some.
But
We're not paying.
are we taxing for loans that we have not yet taken?
There may be some taxation, but there's also DCs, all sorts of other mixed in, as I pointed out in the previous discussion about our payments. So, no.
Is the answer no? Because I think the only way we could make a payment would be on a loan that we're already negotiated.
Right, we are not making a payment on any loan that we have.
Correct. So just to make a statement then, this budget of 4.53% that we're supposed to be making a decision on tonight is based on taxation that is going to service loans that we have already negotiated and currently are paying. This 4.53% does not indicate any payment towards loans that we will be taking in the future.
Yes, it does. It's on the chart.
Yes.
Well, I think you just had the answer no.
It is.
So as you're going through that, I just want the CAO he made a comment to me, or I asked him for a comment, so he can tell us. He's
Okay.
been intricately involved in all of this.
And not just this budget, many budgets.
Yes.
This is staff's best through you, Chair. This is staff's best estimate of what it's going to cost this municipality to run through 2026 to pay its operating and capital costs. It's not a science. The numbers you see in front of you may vary once we go to tender, once we get true costing, once we understand what the finance costs are. This is our financial staff's best estimate in forecasting what the environment's gonna be. And that's what they're doing, and that's what they've done, and that's what every budget I've ever dealt with is the best estimate. I don't know if I've ever had a budget come in exactly the way it was ever presented. So I just think we have to keep that in mind. This
And it
isn't-
seems to me that the 4.5%, and correct me if I say something that's wrong, but I'm trying to get my head around it. The 4.5% pays for, a 4.5% tax increase pays for the budget, which is the best estimate as to what 2026 looks like. If we overtax the public, the money goes into reserve and will be used for those projects when they come online. If we undertax, we have other reserves sitting there that we strategically put in place to pay for it. Because if we don't, that's when you start getting the 10% tax increases because it went horribly awry and we're now in bigger debt than we can handle. And we see some municipalities periodically have to do that. That's where we are. We're trying to boil it down to exact numbers, and that's not what it is, people. Councillor Kennis, Councillor Derbyshire, and then we're going to address that motion.
I just wanted to point out a positive. To this point, because we have been very strong with our cash reserves, we're not paying interest to anyone. So if we, everybody might be happier if we had all gone out and borrowed the money last year, but we'd be paying interest to a third party, and we're not doing that right now. So we're really saving that money. And so as taxpayers, we're not paying interest to the bank of anybody at this point. So that's good.
Councillor Derbyshire, you have the last word.
I 100% agree. It's good that we're not paying interest to anybody else. I guess what Greg's motion that I read from this was, and everyone got hung up on the 4.7% interest. It's more the debt schedule, the length of it. So to make it simple, if you buy a pickup truck over 4 years, it costs you $1,300 a month. If you buy it over 87 months, it costs you $800. We're putting it all over 87 months. So if we put it down to the proper term, which is 10 years, 15 years, that will change the payment. Yes, it will also change the interest, but your payments, your principal payments will change. That's what this is more about. I get it, you want to say we're doing okay this year. Your first one is exactly correct. Then we'll go to the next one, the pumper tanker at 900 at 36. If we're putting that over 10 years, that's got to be closer to 90,000 a year, which does change that, which will then change your 5 point, 4 point, whatever base number you're trying to work off of. If we're not including any of this debt, that's fine. You want to throw Agnes Street out because we haven't done it, then good. That probably makes up for some of the other payments. But when we say we're doing our best estimate of what we're doing, if we know that we buy trucks over 10 years and we put roads over 15 or 20 years, if that's our standard practice, then that should be reflected in here, which then puts that payment different. And then if we want to make it longer and we say, no, we're doing roads over 50 years, perfect, you've collected more. Put that against the principal and pay this down faster. But right now, we've put it out so long, we've said we're going to make the very minimal payment, is how I see it.
And I can't disagree with you, Councillor. We've had these discussions before too, and I don't disagree with you, but for the purposes of trying to get through this meeting, the taxation of 4.5% isn't changing. We've been told that by the director. But what is going to happen clearly is we're going to do that, these new policies about debt service ratios and debt ledgers, and I mean, these are great ideas, but they're not ideas that flow from this meeting tonight. They're going to flow from, the mayor is saying, likely an April meeting when we do the deep dive into all of this. And then everything can start to flush out, and hopefully we don't have this same conversation in 2027. Like, does somebody, we have a motion on the floor. What are we going to do with the motion?
I have one question, and I may pull my motion back.
Ask your question then, please.
So, based on the discussion we've had tonight, we're not making any payments on debt we haven't taken on. We've only taken on $400,000 worth of debt. We're paying, according to the budget on page 38, 1.7 between tax and reserves. What is our current policy for the money that is not going towards loans that we have? If I could get that answer, then maybe I just pull this back. If it just goes into a reserve and we pay it later, then this doesn't really matter, the tax rate will stay the same. But the director said we don't have a policy. So what happens to the 1.2 million that does not get onto a loan that we're taxing for? If I could get that answer, then that could maybe fix this whole thing.
Good point.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, when the surplus comes in at the end of the year, council tells us where that money goes and in what reserves. And at that stage, council would be able to put the money wherever they wanted. They could put it into, if there was a surplus, then that surplus would be allocated to whatever, an existing reserve, a new reserve, whatever council's decision is. We would take direction from council.
So for instance, just as for instance, at the county, they have a tax rate stabilization reserve. So when we get this discussion in, I'm not even sure what time of the year, with our reserves, we decide whether or not we want to put money over into tax rate stabilization. And we have done that in a couple of years, and I think once we took a little bit of money out to keep things low. So we would be doing the same concept.
I get that next county, but I don't believe we've ever done that in this horseshoe. So I guess when tax rates.
But that would be, I mean, would that not be a great conversation for the April meeting?
It would be, but it doesn't explain what we're taxing for. Because if we're, my question is, what's the current policy? The current policy would come back to council with a surplus that we haven't seen. Like, I want to know what the current policy is for that 1.2 million that we're not taxing.
Well,
where there's no debt that we're taxing for.
The director just told us, and I want to keep focused on the fact that what we're talking about is 4.53% tax rate increase from the municipality.
And this is 1.2 million, which is like, it's almost the full tax rate increase.
But the director has said that that is not affecting the 4.53 number in his calculations. I'm not a CPA. Not going to explain it any further than that. Let's call for the vote. It's gone around. So, Councillor Wilsey, did you want to do anything with your motion, or do you want to leave it on the floor? Or do you want to defer it over to the April meeting? Hey guys, Councillor Wilsey, the floor is yours. If you choose to answer, if you don't want to answer it, then it's a live motion on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still really confused over where that money goes. I don't even know, like, I've got even more questions now than when I started. So I don't know what even motion to put in, because like we were told we're taxing for something we're not spending, but that we don't have a policy for where that money goes.
Well, if there's not a policy, we'll generate one and put it in place. Yeah. The money doesn't disappear. We don't throw it away. So it's in an account somewhere. If we don't like the way that process works, we'll change the process. I want to pull a motion to question. I just given him an opportunity as to what he wants to do with his motion. It's been some 30 to 45 minutes so far.
I'm just gonna let it go. We need to see an accurate debt schedule. Right now it's not.
Okay, so we have a live motion on the floor. It has been seconded, correct? Yes, thank you.
So can I ask, I second this, so what will this motion result in at this point?
Well, I asked the director that question, so I'm not gonna repeat it to him, but I said, if this motion went through and passed, does the 4.53% tax rate increase change? And he clearly said, no.
No. Okay.
Okay, so then,
So I just want clarification. When we get this, and if it goes through, just if it goes through, and you have to change these to the proper time frames or the time frames that we've used for trucks and roads in this before, and you can leave the interest rate the same if you don't want to pick the newest interest rate. That's what will happen here, and we will see possibly a different number in this line. Now, that's just what I'm
trying to change, or I'm not gonna even.
But that's what the motion is. The motion is to set this thing with as close to proper interest as you can get and close to proper timelines as you can get. That's the motion.
I get it, and
Okay.
my question I thought was very succinct, and we had an answer for it, so the question's been asked and answered. We're not gonna keep repeating the same question, that's not fair.
Okay.
So, with that being said, there is a motion on the floor, properly seconded. All in favor?
Excuse me, could you read
So-
back the motion?
Pardon me?
read
Could
the
you read
motion.
back the motion, please?
I can, yeah, I got it right here.
Thank you.
That we use updated amortizations on the debt schedule to reflect the asset management plan's useful life framework of the assets being purchased. Example, 10 years for vehicles, 15 years for roads. That's the motion on the floor. All in favor? Sorry. Opposed? Motion carries. Councillor Derbyshire, I'm just bringing yours up. You have two motions on the floor. Sorry.
My first one, since we're having that meeting in regards to changing policy, I think you can just go there because, to be honest with you, I don't think we can figure it out at this point how to possibly do anything for lawsuits.
So do we need a motion to defer that over to that meeting? Okay, thank you.
That's my first one. I didn't look at this.
That's the first.
Is that the first one where I asked to create a reserve fund for lawsuits, possibly against us? So obviously we won't get that included probably in this budget, considering what we just went through.
That would be a policy decision thing anyway. So, okay. Number two, council does not hire anyone else, even if the position was on the list of things to be hired, until we reevaluate where exactly we are at from a standpoint of population growth and economic growth in this municipality.
I just want clarification there.
Yes.
I'm not talking seasonal or I'm talking permanent full-time people. Not our seasonal workers or the people that we bring in, whatever. Temporary, whatever we're calling them.
Okay. Motion on the floor, somebody to second it. Councillor Wilsey, discussions on that. Councillor Brennan?
Would this include vacancies? Through the chair to the mover, would this include vacancies? It says, does not hire anyone else. So if there's a vacancy on staff, would we not hire, or would we hire?
I would say that, that was something I didn't consider. To me, I would consider the need. Again, at where we're with our growth and our economics going on here. I understand we need a reevaluation not that long ago, but that was solely based a lot on the COVID years that completely skew almost everything that we've ever seen. So I do believe with where we're sitting and where our growth is at right now, that the consideration should be on a term-by-term basis. I know we approved some previously that were going to come forward and be done that way, but no, I would say, I guess just let it stand the way it is, with the exception of the volunteers or whatever the
Mayor Grant?
seasonal.
Just a comment, then I'm gonna ask the CEO a question, just a comment, Councilor Derbyshire, on growth, was actually growth that saved the budget this year, because we're at 2.72 growth, so that helps. But I just wanna ask the CEO if you, or whoever you wish to comment on the necessity for the two positions.
Through you, Chair, I'll start, but then, so earlier this year, we went through an exercise with senior staff to look at staffing in this organization. We brought to you a pretty comprehensive report that outlined where we stood compared to other municipalities of similar nature. We've done a customer service inventory that indicates we deliver over 300 services here. We have people working long hours and producing a lot of good work, and frankly, we are understaffed. What we put in front of you in the summer was a 4-year staffing plan that you've approved in principle. We have not pushed all those positions forward through this budget. We've taken the ones that we believe are optimally important. Certainly, we've spent a lot of time tonight talking about asset management. It is key going forward to have our asset management plan honed to get the competitive grant funding that's out there from the province. That is going to be absolutely be critical, and it's going to get more critical as you go forward. So that's the importance of that one, and quite frankly, I think Director Dakin may speak to this, but you know, the data is what you need to make the good decisions that you need to make for the community. And you've had many questions in the time I've been here about asset management, and we aren't yet able to answer all of them, but hopefully if we bring that expertise on, we'll be able to do that for likely the next budget cycle. We'll start that. And in terms of the communications assistant, we look at the world today, the demand for information is more than it's ever been. We've spent a lot of time during business hours, but a lot of time after hours, trying to get messages out to the community. And there is a tremendous workload to do that. We're gonna enter into some community engagement this year with 2 downtown consultations. We have numerous planning applications come forward that require public engagement, and that's the purpose of the 2 positions that we've put forward, because we see the demand, we see the workload increasing. We've come to you already this year explaining where we're at compared to comparator municipalities. I don't think we're asking for more than is really needed here right now.
Thank you. Councillor Buckman.
Yeah, you know, both Strathroy and Caradoc, when we amalgamated, ran on the cheap. I'll say, you know, we depended on people of good nature to take on multiple roles. And if you go back to, I guess it would be 3 people before Mark, Director Ortiz, he probably had 10 different titles under his name. And the reality is that things are more complex, and when you start to overburden people, that's when they either give answers that might be possibly incorrect, or maybe not in a timely manner because they're busy dealing with something else, or they make a mistake because they're rushing, and those are more costly and more time consuming than adding the staff member in my experience. So I get where Councillor Derbyshire is coming from, because our growth, while incredibly intense for 3 or 4 years, came to a screeching halt, and it appears as if we're talking about adding staff to meet the demands of what happened for 3 or 4 years during COVID. But the reality is even before COVID, we were understaffed for the workload that we had.
I just want to point out too that, you listen, I've listened a lot, I won't say you, but I've listened a lot over the last little bit about growth and housing, and that housing is down. And then when you read other reports, housing's not down. It's not down at all. Home building is down.
Yeah.
Housing is giving people a place to live. People are living more communally in homes, generationally in homes. So I think when we're talking about growth, we have to make sure we're looking at people, not homes, because homes are not housing, and people live in housing. So, other thing I'll say is, we've talked a little bit too, my consideration about capital versus operationally. Operationally, we're increasing far greater than capital, and yet over the weekend we had a huge snowstorm and wish we had another 10 snowplow operators. We don't run McDonald's, we don't run Coca-Cola, we run a municipality, and although we may not be first responders, we service first responders, but we are at least second line defense. Snowplow operators, rec department. So there's a lot more we do as a municipality than running a business. So I looked at this and I looked at the budget, and putting people in place, in my estimation and in my opinion, is needed because we are a people-orientated corporation. We have hard assets, we have all types of other things, but at the end of the day, we serve the people of this community. And that means sometimes we have extra staff on this week that maybe we didn't need, but we sure needed them on the weekend when they did an incredible job. Mr. Ortiz, you can send that back to your team, that cleared the roads in real time. 7 or 8 hours, they had all the roads plowed, I think. I was talking to our road superintendent, he sent me the stats, because I asked for them, people were making comments. It was incredible, by like 12:30 in the afternoon, every road had been plowed at least once, is the information that was flowing back to me. We did a strat plan that cost us $80,000. Stratcorp came in, took a look. I received that, that's done by professional people. I accept what they have to say. The staff looked at it, we did a strategic priorities meeting on it when I kind of compared that report to what staff was saying, how they pulled the information out. I accept that. And I think that we need these people to continue serving the people of the community in the manner that I would want to be served when I'm no longer sitting up here or in this room, not necessarily up here. Councillor Wilson.
Question of clarification on the motion. It says council does not hire anyone else. I don't see the form, I guess it's up there. Are you proposing that we stop hiring after we hire the 2 people who are proposed? Or do we take those 2 people who are looking at being hired out of the budget? Just clarification, just because I'm not clear on with that.
Sorry, I was looking to take the people that we have not hired out of the budget. And I understand, they're gonna help with the asset management, which is fine, but if we don't have the money to put into the asset management plan, that's great to have the picture of the car up there, the dream of what we're going to do. If we don't have the budget to fulfill that asset management side of it, you can have 900 people analyze it. You don't have the money to do it. And if you're spending your money on the operations side of things because you can't put it into some of this stuff, we're not gonna get grants anyways. So I understand that it all works together, and yes, we do need this and we need that, but I mean, when you look at an operational increase of, what was it, 12 or 31%, or it's 11 point something percent, and we're decreasing capital by 31, like, you know, but then to talk about, well, these people are gonna analyze the asset management. I don't know how many assets we're gonna have. Like, and I don't want this to come across like I'm picking on staff, because staff does a great job. All our staff are good people. I'd love to give you all you need. But I don't want to raise, if we're looking at keeping taxes where they're at, then we're going to have to make some of these decisions. And you can't just keep giving. That's why projects like the downtown have been pushed and pushed and pushed. Because we can't afford it, but we can afford to increase the operation by this much, like.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan?
Thank you. We spent a lot of time and money on our strat plan, and we had recommendations that came out of it, which were for the better operation of the municipality, and this motion flies in the face of that, so I will not be supporting it, and I'd like us to call a vote.
Is there any other conversation? See none? All in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. That ends everything that was on,
Excuse me, Deputy.
Sorry, yes?
Just a question before we go on to the next bylaw. We had said earlier in this meeting that tonight council is accepting the budget, but I don't see any motions or items here for accepting. We're not actually accepting the budget tonight because it's not council's budget, it's the mayor. I just want, because there's no item, we're not voting on accepting the budget. I just want some clarity on that, just to make sure that the statements made tonight were accurate, that we're not actually accepting it, we're just not putting through any more amendments.
Well, yes, exactly. So if we're not putting any more amendments through, are we not accepting it in its current format? Or do you have other amendments that you want to
I
put
don't
in?
see an agenda item for accepting it. It's just technical, I don't see an agenda item where we're voting to accept the budget.
Well,
You don't vote, right?
Yeah. I'm just.
You vote at the regular council meeting.
okay, one moment. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. So, the strong mayor powers, indicate, in the legislation that once the amendments have been completed within that 30-day period, then the mayor has the opportunity to do his vetoes, but he's indicated that he is not doing that. So what happens is at that point, then the budget is deemed adopted. So an official rubber seal is not going to happen until the bylaw comes to the next council meeting. But it is deemed adopted and the budget is complete.
Yeah, and I guess my point of clarification was just that council has not voted to accept the budget because we don't have an option to do that. It's still the mayor's budget and we're just closing the amendment period. But there's no motion.
That's not the information you were just provided. I can ask her to repeat it if you want, but that's not what the clerk just said. It is adopted tonight. If there's no further amendments, but
it's adopted under strong mayor, it's not adopted by a vote of council.
that's the process you're in. It's adopted tonight. When there's no more amendments on the floor and this meeting closes, this budget is deemed adopted. You will do a formal bylaw later, but it's deemed adopted. That was exactly what the clerk just said. So, Councillor Pammer.
So I just have a question then about Councillor Wilsey's motion that was, which was approved, which could change the budget. So yeah, it could. The amortization schedule could change that bottom number. So is my understanding correct then? The amendment was passed, and so now the mayor is to implement that amendment, because unless he uses his veto, which he says he's not. And so if that changes the bottom line, so be it.
Let's get clarification.
Yeah.
So I asked that question and was told an answer. So the question is coming back to you again is, now because the motion passed, Councillor Wilsey's third motion has passed, is there an effect on the 4.53 increase in the municipal budget?
Through the chair to the chair. So we will update the debt schedule with proper life what are we calling them?
Life cycle?
Terms, the terms of the loan, and we will update the, interest rate as of tonight. And then those numbers will be part of the budget.
So now the answer is yes, it will change the 4.53.
Not if,
Are you gonna fudge it? We'll explain it.
it's not going, so the issue,
Council, hey,
the number may even go down.
okay, but so the question is, it may change the 4.53.
That's my question.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And so the question to the clerk then, is that, so then that would just be adopted, it would not come back again? If the mayor, let's just for argument's sake, it bumped up the number and tax rate went up to 1%, then when we see it at council, for the bylaw, that's just it. There's nothing to be discussed or said, correct?
That is
I just
correct.
make sure I understand the process, thank you.
The request of the CAO, we're taking a 5-minute recess.
It won't change it because it's a guess of trust.
Yeah.
Because he can go back.
I don't wanna get.
I'd like to wait.
I'm using my strong mayor powers. We've returned. I should have had a motion to take the recess, but I guess I don't do things properly sometimes. Anyways, we've resumed now at 6:39. The CAO had to get some clarification. So if you would give the clarification on the matter that we were discussing just prior to taking the recess, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Council, for the 5 minutes just to clarify so I understand. So I think the director stated it correctly earlier, and maybe not as clear at the end here, but at the end of the day, the tax increase is 4.53%. We don't have, as I said earlier, this is the best estimate that we can come up with as staff at this point of what it's gonna cost to operate this organization for the next year. Some of that will change as the year goes on, whether it's the interest rate, whether it's project cost, estimates come in differently. A number of things can change, and generally they do. So no matter what we do here, under Councillor Wilsey's motion, the projected tax increase is 4.53%. If at the end of the year we come in over budget, then we'll be looking to go to reserves to cover that. If we come in under budget, we will have council put the money into reserves for the future projects that come forward. But this is not, this process we're doing here, although it's under some different rules, is not any different than any other budget process at the end of the day. We worked hard as staff to give you our best guess of what it's going to cost. We've worked out and said this is what our projects are gonna cost, this is what our labor costs, this is what our facilities cost, and those numbers are in the budget today. That's the best we can do at this point. Thank you.
You have a question of the CAO?
Yeah, so basically Councillor Wilsey's amendment is null and void. Because what it was asked was to straighten out the interest rate and the timeline for the payments. So,
Just the timeline, I think, right?
The timeline.
Just the timeline.
well, he said just the timeline, they suggested interest as of today.
I don't know if it's null and void, but when the question was put to council, my question to the director was very clear and plain. And that was, if the motion passed, does it affect the 4.53% increase in the budget? The answer was, the answer from the director was a succinct no. The motion was cast and received based upon that information. Clarification has now come back that the budget increase for the Strathroy-Caradoc municipal tax portion is 4.53%. And there are no further amendments being requested by this council. The matter's closed.
But
There's
you're doing,
no further comment on this.
you're wrong.
Bo, I've been wrong before, but the conversation's over.
Council voted this in, and you're now letting staff tell us how our council.
No, I'm telling you, and we're done.
Well, you can be done, but just know you're letting staff tell you now that it's 4.5%, even though council voted on an amendment.
Councilor,
We voted.
we're done.
Council voted.
We're done. Finished. I need a motion that the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting of the Corporation of the Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc be confirmed. Somebody make the motion. Councillor Brennan, Councillor Kennis, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Schedule of meetings. Next meeting is regular council of Tuesday, February 17th. And, oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I think that we were remiss in the budget being presented that there was a significant change in there, adding the police annex. And it's moving forward, but I think the public should be aware that was a major change in the budget that has come forward, and yeah, just want to make everybody aware of that. So thank you for your indulgence.
You're quite right. So the Monday meeting of Family Day is bounced to Tuesday. That's why it's highlighted. And then the next regular council meeting is Monday, March 2, starting at 6 p.m. Both meetings starting at 6 p.m. with closed sessions starting at 5 p.m. if there are any closed sessions. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Kennis, Councillor Hippel, excuse me. All in favor?